Hey guys, this is Lala Legacy, and welcome back to another episode of Cinderella Phenomenon. So, before we start, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button because that would mean the whole world to me. And after this video, if you liked it, please give it a big thumbs up because that lets me know that you want to see more. Alright, let's jump right back in to this really heavy shit. Okay, let's go. I cover my face with my hands as a too familiar grief bubbles up inside of me. Delora made a choice to protect you, Melody, just like Garland made his choice to protect Jurian. The only thing we can do now is make sure their sacrifices weren't in vain. Here. Waltz gently pushes a mug toward me. If there's one thing Delora taught us, it's that hot chocolate makes almost everything better. I stare at the mug and remember the last time I had hot chocolate with Delora. I would never have thought the drink I shared with her so many days ago would be the last. I bite my lip to keep myself from crying. What do we do now? The plan hasn't changed. We still need to stop Hildyr and save the king. But how is the question? Waltz's voice is quiet. Lady Parfait. Does he know what Parfait plans to do? You know as well as I do that there's only one way now, Waltz. Parfait quickly explains what she told me about destroying the Lucius and to destroy the Tenebrarum. But if we do so by destroying the Lucius, you will die. I refuse to let that happen, Lady Parfait. Delora sacrificed her life to have Princess Melody bring back Neverland, and now you're telling us that was useless and that there is no other way? If any of you have an alternative, please tell us. I don't want to lose any more of you over my mistake. We cannot lose you either. I have a suggestion. Let me get this straight. Lady Parfait is going to act as bait to lure Hildyr out of the palace and to the gates. And the rest of us will help distract her long enough so that you can get to your father. Once the king is safely at the margin, Mother cannot use him as a bargaining chip anymore. After that, we will have nothing left to lose. We will be able to go all out against Mother. The efforts we spared in bringing back Neverland will not go to waste. Waltz will use his magic to give us the upper hand. Though, to be honest, I would still like to try and reason with her one last time. Princess, Hildyr cannot be... I cannot accept that your death is the only thing that will achieve our goal in stopping Mother. You told me before that Mother was a kind person. If I could somehow reach out to who she used to be, then perhaps it is possible that we could end this without any additional bloodshed. Everyone turns silent, their faces grim. I know this is not the best and most concrete plan, but please let me try it. I want to hope that the person my mother used to be is still there. This is my fight as well. I need to do something. The least I can do is save my father and stop Mother without Parfait needing to sacrifice herself. It will be dangerous, but I beseech all of you, please help me. I want to believe that my old friend is still in there as well. Okay, let's do this. Chapter 10, The Hunter. Oh boy, here we go. Now we're getting to the nitty-gritty of it. It took a lot to convince everyone that I needed to enter the palace alone. It is the people outside who are fighting Mother that need the greater strength. Bringing any one of them with me could have greatly diminished that strength. I must quickly find the king! Mother always made sure to leave the king in the throne room whenever she left, so it follows that she would leave him there now. It's too quiet in here. I push open the doors and stop in the doorway. The king is sitting on his throne with the vacant expression fixed on his face. He does not so much as flinch as I step inside. I tentatively make my way to the throne. Your Majesty! He does not speak. His eyes remain fixated in the same place, as if he is looking through me. Is he gone forever? Angiel needs you. The king, I know, would never leave his kingdom to ruin. I am standing close enough to him that I could reach out and touch him if I wanted to. What do I have to do to save you? Oh, so now you're being nice to him. I whirl around and place myself between the king and Varge. All those years, you had the opportunity to reach out to him, but you never did. So, I guess the king had to be missing his soul for you to care about him. What are you doing here, Varge? Someone had to keep an eye on the old man. The queen thought someone might try to take the old man while she was busy. I had a feeling it would be you who'd return. You can't bear the thought of losing someone else, can you? What are you going to do then? I am not leaving without the king. Varge is silent as he makes his way toward me. I am not entirely sure how I'm going to stop him, but I will not move. I cannot let him take the king, and I will not succumb to his threats. It is at that moment, just as he is about to reach out to me, that he suddenly drops to his knees and puts a hand on his chest, his expression pained. I just need a little more time. What is happening to him? He manages to talk to me through gritted teeth. You shouldn't have come here alone, especially not with the big bad wolf here. It's my job to destroy you, you know. He flashes me a wicked grin, but the expression is shockingly short-lived. It is replaced by a soft smile. But this big bad wolf can't do that. You can't destroy a person you've fallen in love with. How are you in love with me? Varge looks at me amused. How? Blame Fritz. This was never meant to happen, but I can't help feeling that there were... I can't help feelings that were there from the get-go. The queen wasn't pleased with your knight, so she tried to erase him forever. But he hung on. He was pretty sure that if you could be strong, so could he. He looks up at me with such sadness. I actually feel guilt stir within me, and I am not entirely sure why. I don't think Fritz could ever deserve you. Deserve me? But he's more worthy of you than I will ever be. I'm nothing more than a moth drawn to your fire. I can only ever be burned by you. Maybe Fritz will have better luck. Shadows begin to gather around Varge's feet and start to slowly swirl up the length of his body. Does that mean Fritz is coming back? I know that this is the only thing you would ever want from me. I just wanted to tell you how I felt. Just that. Gods know that Fritz is incapable. But he is capable of one thing. He's a good hunter. He defeated me fair and square to save Little Red, and now I have no choice but to step aside. So Fritz has overpowered Varge? Try to miss me, princess. Think about me every now and then. That would be enough. Varge, what are you? Goodbye, my princess. He smiles at me. His cocky grin faded into a gentle smile. The shadows cloak him fully, making him a little less than a silhouette. I keep myself firmly positioned in front of my father. The darkness eventually dissipates, and there, standing in the moonlight, is a familiar face. Fritz? I'm back. I look at him with bleary eyes. I'm sorry for taking so long, princess. I am running before I even realize my feet are moving. I am overwhelmed with so many emotions, none of which I can put a name to at this moment. I know only that I am happy, so happy that Fritz is back. Oh my goodness! Oh, okay. I throw my arms around his neck and kiss him. Fritz pulls his arms around my waist, pulling me closer. This is him! This is Fritz's heartbeat, his scent, his warmth. He came back to me. Thoughts whirl through my foggy head. I step away from him ever so slightly, suddenly aware of the heat in my cheeks. Wait, did I just kiss Fritz? I cannot bring myself to move away from his grasp, but I suddenly cannot bring myself to look up at him either. Why did I just? Fritz's gentle laugh brings me back to my senses. Though it is hard to parse the feelings inside of me, I can at least be certain that I love the smile he's giving me right now. This feels like a dream. It does. And not just because of what happened, but because Fritz is here. Really here. Fritz leans forward to slowly brush a strand of hair away from my face. My heart pounds in my chest at the subtle touch. Once again, my mind is reeling with considerations. If the princess says it isn't a dream, then it must be real because I trust her with all my heart. I thought I'd lost you for good. I do not flinch away when Fritz pulls me closer so that I'm resting against his chest. But how did this happen? How did you overwhelm Varg? Varg erased himself. How was that possible? He's always had that ability, but he's never had any reason to consider using it before. Then, why now? Because he cared for you. My love for you is so strong it must have affected him too. You love me? Varg said the same thing, and he blamed Fritz, so it is true. Fritz smiles, and I feel his warmth spread inside of me like sunlight. Always, Melody. Well, 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 this is quite the scandal. Fritz moves to stand in front of me. My queen is not going to be pleased. If my curse was so weak that even Sir Fitzgerald could break it, I do not think even I am safe from her wrath. But I believe her disappointment in me will be second to the disappointment she feels for you. After all, you chose a lonely knight. How dare you! Princess. I stopped short at Fritz's tone. You have an important task, don't you? The king? But Mithros? Trust me. Fritz releases my hand to pull out his sword, sinking easily into a ready stance. I'll protect you. You think you could possibly prevail over me? Now when you have no cane, no power at all. Don't make me laugh. Fritz strikes, his slash quick and clean, taking Mithros by surprise. Fritz manages to cut his sword through his shoulder. Mithros hisses as he clutches his bleeding shoulder. The hatred is bright in his eyes. As Fritz rushes Mithros, I run toward the king. You think a mere swordsman can best one of the queen's apprentices? I'd be more wary if I were you, Sir Mithros. I approach the king, who has yet to move from his spot. What do I do? How can I possibly move him? I need to wake him up. But how? Your Majesty, I have been selfish. I was always so concerned with my own feelings and my own pain. I reach out a trembling hand and set it atop one of his hands. Now I realize you were trying to help. It may have been lackluster, but you genuinely tried. I have been so unfair to you, just like Mother was. I do not know if words are enough to make up for what I have done, but I am sorry. I'm sorry for being so cruel to you. Please, I need you. I stare hard into my father's eyes, but there is no movement, no recognition. I dip my head in mourning and I bite my lip as I try to think of another way to save him. But my thoughts subside when a flash of light permeates my vision. It is only for a moment, but when I look up, I can suddenly see life in my father's eyes. Melody? Your Majesty! I reach out to hug him and he wraps his arms around me. I feel like I've been asleep for a long time. And then I heard your voice. It sounded as if you needed me. What has happened? He eyes the motion behind me and raises his eyebrows. He attempts to stand, but his knees shake and buckle. I duck underneath one of his arms to help him back onto the throne. The king stiffens as he glances at the battle ensuing behind me. Sir Mithros and Sir Fitzgerald? What is going on here? The king has broken the enchantment? Impossible. I told you not to underestimate her. Your Majesty, we need to get you out of here. What is happening here? Mother suddenly materializes in the center of the room, standing right before Mithros and Fritz, who has the witch at sword point against the front doors. But Mother is not alone. Mother has Parfait in a tight grip, but the moment I call her name, she releases her and Parfait tumbles to the floor. Crimson stains her dress. Parfait, you're bleeding! Parfait does not move to acknowledge me. Fate would not let go, so I had to bring her with me. Not that it matters. What did you do to her? Where are the others? They retreated like cowards, persistent things. I would have killed them had Faye not sacrificed herself. I let out a sigh of relief. They're all okay and alive. You still care so much about those traitors. I cannot understand your attachment to them. Mother turns her attention away from me and to the two men who are at a standstill. Mithros, you disappoint me. With a flick of her hand, Fritz is pulled away from Mithros and across the throne room toward me. I move to steady Fritz as he stumbles beside me. I am sorry, my queen. I have given you too many chances to prove yourself worthy. You have failed me too many times, Myth. You are of no use to me anymore. But my queen, I have done everything you wanted me to. Please, give me one more chance. I promise Silence! Mother's voice is as cold and sharp as ice. Leave before I erase you from my sight. Please, my queen. Mother casts a spell at Mithros that is all too familiar. It is the same spell she used to kill Delora. Mithros does not even have a chance to defend himself as Mother's spell shocks his body. Such a pest. I don't even know why I kept that useless fool all these years. I slowly turn to look at Mithros. He's no longer standing, but lays unmoving on the floor. I feel bile rising in my throat. I cannot believe Mother just did that to him. How could you take away the man's life so easily, Hildir? How can you be so heartless? It is the first time I had ever heard my father speak to Mother that way. Heartless? I am heartless. Humans shattered my heart many years ago when you hunted my kind. You did this to me. Out of the corner of my eye, I notice movement. In the movements, Parfait moves to stand before us, blocking us from Mother. Even though her clothes are soaked with blood, as she is clearly wounded, Parfait has never looked so regal before. You. Parfait's hands move before resting over her chest, where light begins to gather in her hands. In the blink of an eye, a glittering golden crystal appears above her hands. Is that the Lucius? Oh, excuse me. But the light of the Lucius is emanating, the light that is emanating is uneven. And as I look closer, I can see that it is cracked. What are you doing? The only thing that can stop you! My heart plummets as I realize what Parfait is going to do. Parfait, no! If Parfait hears me, she gives no indication. If you do this, you'll die, Faye. You'll die and remove all magic from Angiel forever. Nothing else will stop you, will it? Your hatred for humans, the corruption from the Tenebrarum. It runs too deep. I see that now. Magic was never meant to be used with malice, Hildir. As long as witches can be corrupted, magic will always pose a threat. I can't allow that to happen. I wanted to change things with Delora, but... What gives you the right to decide what to do with the magic? I am the Lucius bearer. I have a responsibility to maintain balance. But I see now that there can be no balance when the crystallum exists. Light begins to gather, first around Parfait's feet and then around her body. It slowly begins to make its way toward Mother. In no time at all, the light swarms around their bodies. A white crystal suddenly appears in front of Mother, the Tenebrarum. I won't let you do this, Fae! It's too late for that. The golden light of the Lucius intensifies. I can hear the crystal shattering from the inside out. No! The Tenebrarum breaks soon after, its fragments slowly fading with the bright light. Mother and Parfait's images begin to do the same, despite Mother's struggle. Both they and the crystallum slowly dissipate into the mist. No! I lunge forward, but Fritz's arms are suddenly around my waist, holding me still. Mother snarls as she attempts to escape Parfait, but the light around her creates a thick box she cannot escape from. You would die for the humans that have haunted my kind because of their fairy tales? No, I'm dying for you, Hildir, so that for once I might save you from yourself. Mother chokes out a laugh. You are a fool, Fae. Perhaps I am, but at least I will die with hope in my heart. Mother turns to look at me in the blinding light. Parfait's concentration never wavers as she turns to settle her eyes on me as well. Mother's face is fading in the glow, but her voice is clear. I truly did love you, Melody. Everything I have done, everything I did out of love. Parfait smiles at me gently. It is a silent goodbye. There is a brief burst of light, and for a few moments I am blinded. When my vision returns, I see Fritz first. He is staring where Parfait and Mother had been only moments ago. On the floor where they stood moments ago, there's now only dust. Dang! Oh, that's heavy! No, my heart! With the loss of the crystal, magic vanished from Angiel. All the fairy tale curses broke simultaneously, and all witches and fairies lost their power. As soon as it disappeared, I turned to an education centered around the knowledge of Angiel rather than magic. I had decided back then that I would do anything to help Angiel and its people, and it needed to start first by educating myself. I'd started to follow my father on his trips around the kingdom. I'd even started to accompany Melanie on all her trips outside the palace. Fritz has remained by my side for the past month. He comes with me every day I visit the graves. Carefully, so not to disturb the flowers Jurian had left earlier, I leaned down to place my lilies by each gravestone. Garland, Delora, Parfait, and... The last is always the hardest. With a deep breath, I walk up to the 4 gravestones. I stare at it for a long time before I finally set a lily down. Mother! Fritz and I stand there in silence as we grieve for the lives lost that day. I look up into the sky and smile as I stare at the warm rays of the sun. I shift my gaze at Fritz, who smiles at me. He has never left my side since that day. Fritz has already told me that he loves me, but I have yet to tell him my own feelings. Fritz? Yes? I didn't have the chance to ask this before, but... How could you possibly love me? I have been so horrible, not just to you, but to everyone around me. Fritz's expression softens. He gently tilts my chin upwards so that I have to look at him as he speaks. For as long as I've known you, you've had to deal with things no one should have to go through. You were forced to live in the Queen's shadow because others refused to see past your relationship to her. You've been alone for so long, and I could see how much you were hurting. But despite all that pain, you remained strong. You've always been strong. From the beginning, all I've wanted to be was someone you could rely on, someone you could trust, someone who would always be there for you. I must have trusted him from the beginning, too. Fritz was the only one I allowed to get close to me. I do not look away from him, but instead I stare back into his eyes with conviction. I know I may not have shown it, but I did trust you. I've always been able to tell. You wear your heart on your sleeve. I do not. Fritz laughs, and the slight cockiness of his smile reminds me a little bit of someone else. It's been years since you became my responsibility. Once I learned your tells, you became an open book. He surprises me by putting his forehead to mine. The feeling of him so close is comforting. I love the way you're so careful with whatever you consider precious. I love how your eyes light up when you eat a good pastry. I love whenever you rely on me. I bite down on my lip as I blink back tears. No one has ever had that kind of faith in me. Before I knew it, you'd made a spot for yourself in my heart. And I began to hope that one day I could be as dear to you as you are to me. I stare up at Fritz, the tears pooling in my eyes. He wipes away a tear before it can roll down my cheek. I have never felt so cherished before. I do not step away when he leans forward to plant a kiss on my forehead. I hold out my hand, and Fritz comes to my side. I feel the warmth of his fingers and smile. When things begin to overwhelm me, he never fails to calm me. I grip his hand more tightly. Melody? I love you. You know that, right? I've known for a while, but it's nice to hear it all the same. Then I'll say it for as long as you want me to. For the rest of our lives, then? A princess and her knight, huh? Does that matter? No, it doesn't. Even if there was such a rule, I'd abolish it once I become queen. Fritz starts to laugh. As always, his laughter is full of so much joy it lifts my heart. I want to hear it for the rest of my life. And maybe, just maybe, I'll be able to. And that was the end of Fritz's good ending. Oh my god, that was so good! That was so cute! Ah! Welp, I mean, I guess that was it, huh? So next time that I record an episode of this game, I am gonna go through all the things to get to his bad ending. So that is what you can expect for the next Cinderella Phenomenon episode. And then after that, we're gonna get into Little Neverland Boy Waltz. Yeah, okay. So, what did I think about his route? Honestly, this is like my favorite one so far because it touches on literally everything that it's been hinting at. About her mother, about Rod, about Melanie, about the king, about her relationships with everybody. Like, it's touched on so much. And I loved it. He is like the least... Well, let's see. Carmo is really, really freaking good too, though. But, I think he's like... with Fritz himself, not with the other dude that he was cursed with. But Fritz himself, like his feelings are so valid and so like deep and comes from a place of like a genuine, it's genuinely a love that he's had for a long time. And I think that's so pure. And I think that this was like the purest route so far. Obviously, we have one more to go, so I'm not sure how Waltz is going to be. But from what we've done so far, I like his route the most because of the fact that clearly there's always been something there, all that kind of good stuff, and that, yeah, that he's seen both the good and the bad in her while they've been like, or while she's been under his care, basically. So he loves both the good and the bad of her. And I think that is something that sets him apart from everybody else. And that's what I love. So that's my thoughts on it. And yeah, you can tell me your opinions down in the comments below. I would love to hear them. And yeah, so I love you guys so much. If you liked it, please give it a big thumbs up down below. That lets me know that you want to see more. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe and hit that notification bell. I will see you guys next time. I love you. Bye!